Welcome to the PharmaVOICE 100 one-on-one video series with Karen Groen.
Hi, Steve. It's so good to see you, and thank you for joining us for our one-on-one for the Celebration Marathon.
Taryn, so great to see you, however virtually.
I know. We're all living in this new virtual reality.
Still
Steve,
great to see you.
You are such a great creative mind. I have a quote I'd like to repeat back to you. It's something that you have said to me, and I'd like to expand on it a little bit. You have noted that successful creative must deliver surprise, delight, excitement, and awe. Tell me about this.
Yeah, the threshold for getting excited, for getting stimulated, for all of those things has risen steadily with the increase of content that's constantly flooding into our brains, into our consciousness. So therefore, for a message, an idea, an image, words to stick, and it's becoming increasingly hard for those things to stick in our brains and consciousness, there has to be more to it than familiar formulas or familiar words, familiar ideas. We have to create a sense of surprise such that people, when encountering our ideas and our messages, are jarred out of complacency, are jarred out of their sort of slumber with regard to this flood of messages. You know, we just can't absorb all of them, and we develop, I think, a thick skin against most of that stuff. For it to and stick, it has to jar us, it has to represent, it has to look different, sound different, feel different. It has to be comprised of different elements that produce literally this feeling of surprise and, yes, awe at something that's fresh and new. Because when we encounter something that's fresh and new, an idea, a phrase, an image, we do experience a sense of awe, a sense of amazement. And those feelings translate into that message sticking, and that message hanging around, being retained, being remembered, and then we hope achieving what it's supposed to do, which is deliver a message and then deliver an impact in terms of how we think, how we feel, and most importantly, how we act at the end of the day. Because what we do is about affecting all of those things, how we think, how we feel, and ultimately how we act. And that's what we're after.
Excellent. And digging a little bit deeper into that, with the expanding universe of content, as you just alluded to, it's got to have an impact on the creative process. So what do you tell up-and-coming creatives? What do you tell your current creatives and how to manage all of this?
It most certainly does. Our laptops now are a golden gateway, a doorway into this vast world of treasure. And that treasure is imagery, that treasure is still imagery, filmed imagery, every kind of imagery, all sorts of content, just a universe of content that can potentially be appropriated into our thinking, into our communications, into the things we write and we design. And that is a wonderfully liberating thing. But the caution is, and the inherent danger of that much freedom and that much availability, is that we lose the sense of what constitutes a great idea in the first place. And a great idea, a great message, a great ad, a great piece, a great form of communications is never about just appropriating items from online sources and just reconfiguring them. It starts with the very hard but necessary act of cogitation, which is thinking, and the hard work of thinking, which occurs in our minds and not necessarily on a computer screen. And so we have to fight the tendency to just go with the flood and let the content flood over us and then just spew that back out there, because no one's going to be moved by that, because they're flooded too. We have to take that flood, distill it into thinking and ideas that, as we talked about, generate a jolt of surprise, that represent an imaginative leap, an imaginative or even intellectual leap that produce a jolt of surprise, an electric shock of pleasure even, and stimulation, so that people will be riveted and engaged and pay attention, because finding attention and keeping it is one of the hardest things that we all have to contend with, you folks as well, your content generators. So how do you do that? And so we have to resist the temptations of everything that's out there and just sort of using it in an unfiltered way. We have to use our creativity and our intellect even more rigorously than ever, given all of this content out there.
Steve, thanks so much for sharing your version of shock and awe, and thank you for joining us for this version of our one-on-one.
My pleasure, Taryn. Thank you.
For more PharmaVoice 100 content, visit www.pharmavoice100.com.